The marijuana legalization movement is plagued by misinformation, much of which somehow found it into the chairman's opening statement. Federal marijuana laws are not a racial justice issue, and federal prisons are not filled with low-level, nonviolent drug possessors. What we are, and maybe more importantly, what we are not talking about as we examine this legislation, which should be called the Marijuana Reparations Act.
Yeah, no. During the Senate Judiciary Committee meeting, Tom Cotton attacked federally decriminalizing cannabis with half-truths and nonsensical ideas.
Groups like the ACLU misleadingly suggest that Black Americans are disproportionately targeted by federal marijuana laws. But unlike the ACLU, the numbers don't lie. There are very few federal marijuana cases to begin with, barely over 1,000 in 2021, and more than 80% of federal marijuana offenders are white or Latino.
You see, Cotton is using numbers to misinterpret the reality of what's happening here. The reality is African Americans are more likely to be arrested on average than any other racial group. A Wisconsin study says it's 4.3 times more likely to happen in their state, while a 2020 study from the Washington Post showed African Americans accounted for just under 90% of those arrested in Washington, D.C. by police on all pot-related charges at the time. And while he says there's very few marijuana cases to begin with, isn't this the same party that was raging over just a handful of transgender athletes a couple months ago? Check this out.
How many transgender athletes are competing in women's sports in Tennessee at the middle, high, or collegiate level?
Senator Hensley to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't know of any in Tennessee, but we've certainly all seen them competing in other states.
And what he pointed to, first of all, was that there are over 70,000 people playing in sports in their state, and they had identified exactly 4 transgender youth who were playing, and exactly 1 who was playing in women's sports. And I don't think there's any reason to think that the numbers here in Tennessee are all that different.
The Republican Reefer madness does not stop there. These are some of Cotton's House colleagues speaking about legalizing cannabis nationwide.
How does this help us to leave a stronger, safer, more secure America for our children and our children's children? Simple answer, it doesn't. We are here today to vote to get America high. In states with legalized marijuana, there are more marijuana-related emergency room visits and hospitalizations than any other category. Allowing children who don't know how to rationalize long-term effects of drugs to use a gateway drug for recreational or medicinal purposes is reckless, negligent, careless, and irresponsible.
We have rising violent crime in Democrat-run cities across the country. More drug use won't help that. We have 100,000 Americans die of overdoses last year, the leading cause of death in Americans ages 18 to 45. More drug use won't help that. Our government schools and our education systems are failing us. More drug use won't help that.